The rain was pouring down with full force. It was the last spell of winter showers, and the cold was biting, yet strangely I felt unbearably hot, restless in a way I couldn't explain. I glanced at the clock. It was 11 p.m. My husband still hadn't returned from the office. I reached for my phone, intending to call him and ask where he was, but just then a message appeared. I let out a long sigh after reading it. He wrote that due to the rain, the roads were blocked and he wouldn't be coming home tonight. I tossed the phone aside and sat down, holding my head in my hands. Honestly, this wasn't anything new. He often didn't make it home at night, always, for some reason or another. Tonight, it was the rain. I sat for a while by the window, just watching the downpour. The sight of rain always brought back memories of my childhood. Whether it was hot or cold, rain would always make me lose myself. I would want to run out and soak in it, no matter how much my mother forbade me or how stern my father looked. I simply couldn't stop myself. But after marriage, I had given up this small pleasure. I moved into a joint family, and in a house full of people, it didn't feel right to dance around in the courtyard like a carefree child. As childhood memories washed over me, my heart longed to relive those moments. I thought surely by now everyone must be asleep in their rooms. The chilly air ruled the night. Who would want to step out in this weather? And with Furkan, my husband, not coming home tonight, this was a rare chance. I peeked out of my bedroom window towards the other rooms. All the lights were off. My in-laws must be in deep sleep, my brother-in-law in his room, and my sister-in-law had gone to visit her parents. This was the perfect opportunity. I quickly turned off my own bedroom light and slipped out into the courtyard. It was a small open space. The moment my feet touched the rain-soaked ground, I felt water trickling down my skin, soaking me completely. For the first time in 4 years, I wasn't watching the rain from my window. I was standing in it. The joy, the peace, the sheer thrill of it swept over me. I spun around and, feeling free, flung my dupatta aside and threw my arms out wide. With my hair loose, spinning like a peacock, I let myself enjoy the rain fully. I didn't care in the least if anyone saw me. After all, everyone was surely fast asleep at this hour. I danced and played in the rain for a long time, losing myself in the moment. When I finally grew tired, I sat right there on the wet ground, slapping my hands on the puddles, making water splash up onto my face. My heart leapt with joy. If only Furkan liked the rain too, or if he could have joined me, how wonderful it would have been. The thought stung me for a moment. Furkan's nature was so different from mine. He rarely laughed, hardly talked, and he certainly didn't like my playful ways. In the early days of our marriage, when I laughed loudly or joked around, he would glare at me with those sharp eyes. Gradually, I came to understand that he didn't like these things, so I changed myself. I, who once laughed openly and lived life to the fullest, became quiet and simple, just the way he liked. The first rain after our marriage, I ached to go out and get drenched, but Furkan had forbidden it, saying, "This is a joint family. Everyone lives under one roof. There's no need to create a scene." His tone, as always, was rough and cold. My heart wept in silence, but I buried my wishes deep inside. I never wanted to do anything against my husband's wishes. And so, over the past 4 years, every time it rained, I buried my desires even deeper, letting them fade away inside me. Everyone who looked at me would say the same thing. "Sarah, you're not the same anymore. It's like you've become a completely different person." To my in-laws and even my own family, I seemed more serious, more mature. But only I knew the truth. I wasn't wise or strong. Something inside me had died. My desires whimpered deep within me, choking silently while I wore a soft, practiced smile on my face and busied myself with serving the household, because that's what made my husband happy. When I served my in-laws, they would speak to me politely. Otherwise, I'm not sure even that courtesy would be offered. Tonight, for the first time in years, I had the chance to truly live a little, and I took it. I took advantage of the darkness, stepped into the rain, and soaked up every moment. But as my body grew drenched from head to toe and the cold began to bite, I suddenly felt a presence. Someone was standing near me. I froze mid-motion, my hands still splashing in the rain puddles. Nervously, I looked up, and there he was. My brother-in-law, Shamshir Pai, stood just a few feet away. My heart skipped a beat. I had assumed he, like everyone else, would be fast asleep in his room. What was he doing here? And worse, what was I doing? I was soaked to the bone. My dupatta had flown off somewhere across the courtyard, and my hair clung to my face. My entire appearance felt exposed and utterly inappropriate. Shamshir Bhai looked at me calmly and said, "You'll catch a cold, Saira. Get up." His words struck me like thunder. It felt like someone had pulled the ground from beneath my feet. I scrambled to my feet, embarrassed beyond words. My clothes clung to my skin, dripping, and the dim yellow bulb from the veranda cast a dull light across my body. His eyes were fixed on my face, not wandering but focused. Still, it made me uncomfortable. "Why are you out here, getting drenched in this cold rain?" His voice was sharp, firm, cutting, almost. I bit my lip and said nothing. No excuse came to mind. He sighed and said, "Go to your room." I rushed to grab my dupatta from the far end of the courtyard, my hands trembling, and hurried toward my room. I thought he would turn away then, but instead he followed me. When I stepped into my room and turned around, I saw him entering behind me. My breath caught in my throat. "Shamshir Bhai," I said, my voice weak, frightened. But he said nothing. He simply walked over and shut the door behind him, then came toward me. A knot formed in my throat. My fear rose like a wave. I instinctively stepped back. Furkan wasn't home. My in-laws were deep asleep, likely under the effect of their sleeping pills. My sister-in-law was away at her mother's home. And now, at this hour of night, my brother-in-law was in my room. That alone was enough to make my blood run cold. I backed away and snapped, "Please go back to your room. Furkan will be home any minute." At that, he smiled, a soft, knowing smile that sent chills down my spine. "Furkan's not coming home tonight," he said smoothly. "I know, he'll return in the morning. Are you trying to fool me? Or yourself?" I lowered my gaze. My lie had been caught. Shame washed over me. He knew. He knew Furkan wasn't coming home tonight. But then, why had he come into my room? Before I could question him or demand he leave, he stepped even closer. He gently sat me down on the bed and then sat beside me, our shoulders nearly touching. His hand was still lightly gripping my arm. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. "Saira, I've been meaning to say something to you for a long time, but I never got the chance. Tonight, watching you dancing in the rain, it hit me. I shouldn't wait any longer." I froze, confused and scared. He continued, "I know you've been aching for a child. I've seen your sorrow. I know how much it hurts you. I want to help you complete your life." He gave a faint smile, still seated uncomfortably close. His grip tightened ever so slightly. That smile, it wasn't kind. It felt dangerous. My heart thudded wildly, and then, without saying another word, he made a move so bold, so disturbing, that it shattered my entire being. Something I could never have imagined. Something so vile that even in my worst dreams, I hadn't feared it would come from someone so close. He didn't need words. His intentions were now clear. For several moments, I just stared at him in disbelief. My limbs had gone numb, my mind blank, and I kept watching Shamshir Bhai as if frozen in time. Then he looked at me with a questioning gaze and asked, "Do you really want to have a child, Sarah?" His voice was low, coaxing. "If you truly do, then you'll have to agree to what I say." I didn't respond. I just sat there, stunned, my body motionless, listening to his words without really absorbing them. And then, before I could even react, he pulled me into his chest. It was that moment, that terrible moment, when it hit me what had just happened. I was no longer confused. Reality shattered the silence inside me. Shamshir Bhai, my husband's elder brother, had crossed all limits. In the name of fulfilling my longing for motherhood, he had committed the ultimate betrayal. He had betrayed his own brother and trampled over every boundary of decency right before my eyes. My name is Saira. I was born into a modest middle-class family. I attended a government school, and by the time I reached college, like every girl from a traditional background, my parents began to worry about getting me married. My mother and father started looking for suitors, but for one reason or another, nothing seemed suitable. Months went by like this, and eventually my parents grew anxious. They believed this was the right age for me to marry, and they didn't want to wait any longer. But I was a free spirit, lively, cheerful, always laughing and leaping about. I constantly told them I didn't want to marry yet. Still, I could sense that after I turned 18, my father had started to look at me differently, as if I had become a burden. The search for a good match intensified. Then one day, my father's acquaintance suggested Furkan's name. Furkan lived in a joint family with his parents, older brother, and sister-in-law. He had a well-paying job, a stable household, and everything appeared respectable. My parents saw this as the perfect proposal and decided it was time for me to settle down. But I resisted. I protested, saying I didn't want to get married yet. My mother tried to calm me and handed me Furkan's photo, saying, "Just look at it once. If you don't like him, you can say no." I knew even then that my no wouldn't really matter. This was just a formality. Still, to please her, I looked at the photo, and I couldn't look away. Furkan was around 27 or 28, exceptionally handsome, masculine, dignified, striking. Something about his photo made my heart skip a beat. For the first time, I didn't protest. In fact, I was the one who told my mother, "All right, you can invite them over." So his mother and elder sister-in-law came to see me. The way they sat, spoke, their etiquette and mannerisms, all of it revealed that they were from a very refined family. My parents were satisfied, and since I didn't object either, the engagement was finalized. The wedding was scheduled for 6 months later. Like every girl, I had dreams. I hoped to meet my fiancé before the wedding, talk to him, get to know him, but my mother didn't allow it. I never got to meet Furkan, never even spoke to him once. Despite living in modern times, I didn't have a mobile phone, nor was I allowed to speak with him over the phone. 6 months passed with only daydreams and silent hopes. In my mind, I built a perfect image of Furkan, a kind, caring, emotionally mature man. I believed men from joint families always knew how to respect women, how to care deeply for their wives. I was wrong. When our wedding finally took place, the truth hit me like a blow. On our wedding night, Furkan entered the room and, without any affection or warmth, laid down one rule. I don't like noise. I don't want interference in my matters. I like peace and quiet. I don't want questions, and I certainly don't want chaos in my presence. Perhaps he already knew I was naturally playful and talkative. That's why, the very moment he stepped into my life, he clipped my wings. He wanted me silent, submissive. I bowed my head and agreed, like an obedient bride, despite how difficult it was for me. I made a promise to silence my spirit. Furkan spoke no words of love, no promises for the future, no dreams shared between husband and wife. It was the beginning of my life with him, and the slow death of the girl I used to be. He had treated our relationship like an obligation, something to be fulfilled out of duty, not desire. That's how our married life had begun. I had once believed that with enough love, I could change him. I truly thought that the energy and life inside me could transform anyone. But with time, I realized how wrong I had been. I couldn't change Furkan at all. Instead, I had changed completely. I no longer laughed out loud or spoke freely. I simply kept to myself, doing household chores and serving my in-laws. My sister-in-law, Charmine, would often look at me and say, "You're completely different now. This isn't the same girl we came to see before the wedding." I'd just smile faintly and reply, "Your brother prefers me like this." Sometimes Shamshir Bhai would also look at me with a deep, curious gaze and ask softly, "Are you happy?" That question would shake me to my core. I never said it out loud, not to anyone, but the truth was, I wasn't happy. Not at all. I had killed myself from the inside and was living a lie. I had buried my dreams and desires, changed everything about myself, just to keep my husband pleased. But even after all that, I had never once seen Furkan truly happy. Even after so many months of marriage, a strange distance remained between us, a gap that never closed. I told myself, maybe some men are just like this. Maybe they don't like to talk much or express their emotions. That's just their nature. 1 year passed like that. Then, my in-laws began hoping for a grandchild. My mother-in-law would ask me gently in hushed tones, "Beta, when will we hear good news?" I never knew how to answer her. I just stayed quiet. After another 6 months, I finally spoke to Furkan. I told him, I think it's time we think about having a baby. It's been a long time, and we're still childless. Furkan looked at me strangely and said, it will happen when it's written in fate. Don't chase things. His response was so cold, so casual that I was stunned. I had expected him to agree, to acknowledge that it had been a long time and maybe we should try, but his tone made it clear he wasn't in any hurry at all. That's when I started reflecting more deeply. I realized that in all this time, a year and a half, Furkan had never once expressed a desire to have children. He never even brought the topic up. His older brother, Shamshir Bhai, had 2 kids, and Furkan loved spending time with them. He was so cheerful with them, always smiling and playing, but even then, he had never once mentioned wanting children of his own. I remembered one specific incident. Shamshir Bhai's elder son had jokingly asked Furkan, Chachu, when will your baby come? Instead of smiling, Furkan scolded him harshly, the first time I had ever seen him raise his voice like that. Sharmeen Bobby quickly took her son away into the other room. But something had shifted after that day. Furkan became colder, more distant. He stopped talking to me altogether. He wouldn't sit with me, wouldn't even look at me properly. I tried to talk to him, to ask what was wrong, but he would brush me off, cold and rude. Finally, one night, when I couldn't bear it anymore, I confronted him. What's going on? Why are you acting like this? And his reply shattered me. You're the one who's made a big issue out of having a baby, he snapped. Even the children in the house have started asking me questions. You taught them that, didn't you? You've turned everyone against me. Even my parents are hinting at things now, all because of you. I stared at him, completely shocked. He looked at me with disgust, his eyes full of blame and bitterness. You're the one behind this, he said. You've poisoned their minds. I stood there frozen. I had never said a word to anyone. It had simply been too long since we got married, and naturally people were curious. But Furkan didn't want to hear my side. He had already made up his mind and placed all the blame on me. I tried to defend myself. I wanted to tell him I had never spoken to anyone about it, but he refused to listen. He just walked away. After that, our relationship turned even colder. Furkan started coming home late almost every night, saying he was busy at the office. Sometimes he wouldn't come home at all. He'd stay at work, claiming he had too much to do. I grew completely silent. Even my own family had started asking when we were going to have a child. That pressure pushed me to finally see a doctor. I went to the hospital with my mother-in-law. After the checkup, the doctor smiled gently and said, "There's nothing wrong. Just take care of your health and try to stay happy." Hearing that, my mother-in-law was reassured and we returned home. But time kept moving. The 2nd year passed, then the 3rd, still no child, still no change in Furkan's behavior. He remained the same, a quiet, distant man who came home just to eat and sleep, like his presence in the house was merely functional. There was never any understanding between us, and certainly no love. I, on the other hand, loved him with all my heart. But his demeanor remained cold, always unapproachable. My mother had always taught me one thing. No matter what happens, never let your home fall apart. That's why I never complained to anyone, not to his family, not even to mine. I simply turned to Allah in prayer again and again, asking him to bless me with a child. That hope was the only thing I held on to. 4 years passed like that. In those years, I shaped myself completely into what Furkan liked. He didn't like me getting drenched in the rain, so I stopped. For 4 long years, I only admired rain through the window, never stepping into it. He didn't like my laughter, so I stopped laughing out loud. Even when I felt joy, I would press my lips shut to silence it. He didn't like me going up to the rooftop, so I didn't even go there to take down clothes. My sister-in-law, Charmeen, would do it for me. From head to toe, I'd immerse myself in becoming the woman he wanted me to be, yet he was still not happy, with me or with the marriage. Those 4 years were some of the most painful and emotionally draining years of my life. But no one knew. No one understood what I felt inside. And now he had begun staying at work late almost every night, always making excuses. If I asked, or if anyone from the family asked, he would say it was because of work. That night, too, he had stayed at the office, using the rain as an excuse. And that's when I listened to the voice inside me and stepped out into the rain, trying, just for once, to feel alive again. I spent 2 whole hours in the rain, drenched, exhausted, but momentarily free. And then, my brother-in-law found me and pulled me back to reality. The cold rain had made him angry. He scolded me for standing in the chill. Embarrassed, I quietly walked back into my room. But he followed me, and once inside the room, he sat me down on the bed and said something that made my world collapse. I just stared at him, speechless. Then, to prove what he was saying, he picked up his phone, dialed my husband, and with a hard tone said, "Furkan, are you with that woman again? You're not coming home tonight, are you?" His words struck me like lightning. From the other side of the line, Furkan's voice was calm and cruel. "No, I'm not coming back. I only married Syra because all of you forced me. You all know I love Nisha. I've already married her and we have 2 kids. I'm happy there. I don't want this marriage. I don't want Syra. I don't know why you people can't understand that. And she just doesn't stop clinging to me. I've treated her horribly. I've tried everything to push her away, but she still sticks around." I couldn't breathe. My heart stopped. The man I loved so deeply had just ripped apart my entire reality in one phone call. He sounded disgusted with me. His voice carried a loathing I had never imagined. Shamshir Bhai listened quietly, then gave Furkan a piece of his mind before ending the call. He turned to me and held my arm gently but firmly. "Why haven't you understood yet? Your husband belongs to someone else. He's married to another woman. He's happy there. And you've been torturing yourself for a man who doesn't care if you live or die." His voice was stern, but there was sadness in his eyes. "You're always so worried about having a child. But did it ever cross your mind? What will you do if you do have a child? Furkan doesn't love you. He won't love your child either. You'll still be alone." It was in that moment that the truth finally hit me. Why Furkan had never truly been mine. I had been clinging to a fantasy, to a marriage that existed only on paper. My soul felt crushed, but I couldn't cry. There were no tears left. Then he said, "You want children, don't you? You want happiness? Then leave Furkan. I can't say all this in front of the family. Our parents aren't well and they couldn't handle this truth. Nisha, she's not a good woman. That's why my parents forced Furkan to marry you instead. But his obsession with her never ended. That's why he doesn't see anything clearly anymore," Shamshir Bhai said gently. "It's better that you return to your own home and start your life anew." His words not only drained the last ounce of strength from my body, they buried whatever was left of my broken marriage. Tears streaming down my face, I asked, "Shamshir Bhai, if you knew this all along, why didn't you tell me before? Why did you let me marry your brother? Why did you ruin my life too?" I was sobbing, uncontrollably. I changed myself completely for Furkan, from head to toe. And what did I get in return? He folded his hands in front of me, guilt heavy in his voice. "Syra, I was helpless. My parents made me and Charmine swear not to say a word. They made us promise we wouldn't reveal anything to you, but every time I saw you playing with my children or enduring Furkan's cruelty, my heart would ache. Many times I wanted to ask you, 'Are you really happy?' But you always replied with the same soft smile, saying you were fine, that you were happy with Furkan. You never complained, not once." He paused, his voice thick with remorse. "You're a good woman, Sarah. I've always admired your strength. And I regret deeply that for 4 years I couldn't tell you the truth. But today when I saw you, after so long, truly living again, drenched in the rain like a carefree child, I realized something. If I had a younger sister, she would have been just like you. And would I have let anyone treat her this way? Never. That's why I decided tonight I have to tell you everything. Now, it's up to you. Either continue living in this lifeless relationship or return to your own home and build a life that's actually yours." He left the room after saying this, and I just sat there on the bed like a statue. I had never once complained about Furkan to my parents. Deep down, I believed that one day, with enough love, I would earn everything I longed for. But now I understood. How could I expect love from a man who had already given his heart to someone else? He didn't need me. He had a wife, he had children. There was no space for me in his life. That very night, I packed my few belongings. Morning came. The rain had stopped. When Furkan finally returned home, I stood before my in-laws and told them everything. I told them how their son had married another woman, how he had 2 children, how I had unknowingly become the victim of their decision. My in-laws were stunned. They hadn't known about Furkan's second marriage. When they confronted him, he didn't even try to hide it. He admitted everything. And at my request, he gave me a divorce right then and there. With the label of divorce staining my identity, I returned to my parents' home. They were in shock. I sat with them and, through tears, told them the whole truth. My mother wept and asked me, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Still crying, I replied, "Amma, you're the one who always told me to save my marriage no matter what. You said, don't come to us with problems or complaints. Build your home." So I tried. I kept trying. But, Amma, if you had said even once, if something wrong happens, tell me, I would have come to you. She pulled me into her arms and sobbed with me. After 4 years of marriage and a bitter divorce, society wasted no time in blaming me. No one wanted to understand the pain I had lived through. I was a woman, divorced, and that was enough for people to question my character. No one asked what I had endured. I became quiet. I started living silently, trying to piece myself together. Once my Iddah ended, a proposal came. It was from my brother-in-law, Shamshir Bhai. Not for himself, but for one of his close friends. A kind man who knew everything about my past. His first wife had passed away suddenly and he hadn't remarried since. He had no children. Shamshir Bhai wanted me to give myself another chance. He placed his hand on my head like an older brother and said, "You deserve a better life." I trusted him. And I said yes. That man, Shahnawaz, turned out to be everything Furkan wasn't. He knew my past, and yet he accepted me with dignity and open arms. He gave me the love and respect I had always longed for. Today, as I look back on my past, I often wonder, why did I wait so long? Why didn't I realize sooner that I was holding on to something meaningless? Today, I'm expecting. I'm finally going to be a mother. And with this child, I will fill every void life left in me. I have found peace. And to those who are still stuck in a hopeless relationship, I want to say this. Don't waste your whole life clinging to the wrong person. Life is short. You deserve to be happy, make your own choices, take your own steps forward. Start again. You can and you must.